Program, B.S. English. Course, Literary Criticism. Topic, Aristotle's concept of tragic plot. Prepared by Dr. Shahryar Khan. Question. Discuss Aristotle's concept of tragic plot. Or, the first essential, says Aristotle, the life and soul, so to speak, of tragedy is the plot, character comes the second. How far this statement can be defended? Introduction. In his famous definition of tragedy, Aristotle says that tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude. The term action includes a variety of aspects in human life. It not only involves deeds, incidents and situations, but also it includes mental and psychological processes which make men act. It also determines the motives behind the external events. In fact, action is the plot of a tragedy. Aristotle gives utmost importance to the plot in his Poetics. He is of the view that plot is the very soul of a tragedy. With respect to definition of tragedy, we can discuss plot keeping in view the following aspects. Point 1. According to Aristotle, the action of tragedy must be complete in itself. As we know that actions of men are many but not all of them are tragic, and it is one action which brings about the tragic fall. Therefore, in a tragedy only one action should be presented, and the actions that are irrelevant should be left out completely. The term complete means that a plot should have a beginning, middle, and an end. Beginning means that the plot should begin at the most appropriate moment and the action should erupt suddenly like a volcano. As T.R. Hen has remarked about Hamlet. At the opening of Hamlet there is every indication that if it were not for the appearance of the ghost, events in Denmark would have settled down into a period of rest. Also in Oedipus Rex we see the action erupting suddenly with the description of plague broken out in the city. The middle of a plot is, in fact, the development of the action in which the characters, their motives, and the situation is revealed completely and develops towards its logical end. The middle is that which follows the beginning and it comes before the end. While the end is the solution when all the problems are solved and the tragic action is resolved. The plot should be connected logically and rationally, and there should be no element of chance involved. In a tragedy the events should be connected in such a way that, in such a case, there shall be nothing which is not clearly caused by what precedes, nothing which is not clearly the cause of what follows. Point 2. The next important term related to plot is magnitude. Magnitude has been interpreted differently by different critics, but its most probable interpretation is size, i.e. the plot should have appropriate length and it should be neither too long nor too short. If an object is too small it cannot be fully appreciated, and in case of tragedy there would be no space for the development of the action. If the size is too long then the audience would not be able to establish proper connection between the events. Point 3. Aristotle has emphasized that plot should be like a living organism. In a living organism, the removal or the transposal of any of the parts would lead to the destruction of the whole. Each part is bound to bear a relationship to other parts and also to the whole. Aristotle condemns episodic plots in which there is no causal connection between the events. In such plots, the removal of any of the part would not affect the whole. As we see in Elizabethan tragedies, the dramatist would introduce comic interludes which are not related to the action of the plot. Moreover, in these tragedies there is no unity of action and there are subplots running parallel to the main action. The gravedigger scene in Hamlet and also some of the comic scenes of Dr. Faustus are examples of such interpolations. On the contrary, the plot of Oedipus Rex has no interpolations or subplots, and nothing can be removed from the play without affecting the wholeness, and that is the reason that Aristotle calls the plot of Oedipus Rex an ideal plot. Point 4. Aristotle has discussed two terms in Poetics in relation to plot, which are peripety and anagnorisis. Peripety is the reversal, that is, the change of fortune of hero after the discovery. The hero is enjoying a high and noble position and is respected by the people. Suddenly, he discovers something, and that discovery is called anagnorisis. Anagnorisis leads to his reversal and he faces a great fall and suffers exceptionally. On the basis of these two terms, Aristotle divides plot into three kinds. 1. Simple plot. 2. Complex plot. 3. Scenes of suffering plot. In a simple plot there is no peripety or anagnorisis, and the change in fortune from good to bad takes place without any violent or sudden reversal. The action moves smoothly without jumps and starts. As a result, this kind of plot can't arouse the feelings of pity and fear. Point 5. According to Aristotle, the ideal plot is the complex plot, as it contains both peripety and anagnorisis. The reversal arises from human error or error of judgment, or it can be anagnorisis. It is a transition from ignorance to knowledge. According to Aristotle, a tragedy can have one of these elements, but an ideal tragedy should have both of these. The plot of Oedipus Rex is the best example of peripety and anagnorisis. When the messenger arrives, his news, which is supposed to be favorable, opens another controversy, and Oedipus discovers that he is not the son of Polybus. The shepherd confirms this, and thus from here the reversal starts. Oedipus, who was enjoying honor and fame, now falls from a great height and suffers exceptionally. In this way, discovery and reversal work side by side in Oedipus Rex. Point 6. The third kind of plot is the scenes of suffering plot. In this plot the feelings of pity and fear are not aroused by peripety and anagnorisis, but by the spectacle of murders and bloodshed upon the stage. The tragedies of Roman tragedy on Seneca are the examples of such plots, in which the writer has tried to produce tragic effect not internally through the plot but externally, that is, through the spectacle. Aristotle condemns these plots because they are melodramatic and lack artistic perfection. He says that the feelings of pity and fear should be aroused through the arrangement of incidents and not through spectacle. Point 7. The last important element in connection with plot is the concept of dramatic unities. In Poetics, Aristotle has only mentioned the unity of action. He says that plot should revolve around one action. Out of many actions in human life, only one is tragic, and it should be the subject of tragedy. Moreover, there should be no subplots in tragedy. In Oedipus Rex, the tragedion is only concerned with Oedipus and his fall, and has not added any irrelevant details. Unity of time and place are not mentioned by Aristotle, but later critics attributed these to him. Unity of place is that the action should take place at one setting and scenes should not be shifted to far-off places. In Oedipus Rex, the whole action takes place outside the palace, but in Dr. Faustus there is no unity of place, as action moves to far-off cities and countries. Unity of time means that a play should have a time span of 24 hours in order to make it credible. Example is again Oedipus Rex, where the action is concluded in one single day. But in Dr. Faustus, period of 24 years is shown upon the stage. Conclusion. To conclude, we can say that Aristotle's concept of plot is in keeping with what we call classical tragedy. There is insistence on order, pattern, and design, but Elizabethans completely violated these rules, and, in fact, in modern times none of these concepts hold value. Even then, it is true that Aristotle's concepts are still considered as a norm, and even now tragedies are evaluated and analyzed according to these concepts.